that our numbers continue to rise. That just shows the growing interest in all things recovery, and certainly SAMHSA's Office of Recovery. We welcome everyone to this periodic gathering that we have to both share a little bit in terms of the current and upcoming activities of SAMHSA's Office of Recovery, as well as engage in a dialogue with you and other members and leaders in the recovery community to both get your feedback on the activities, but also to provide your guidance and to share with us what other innovations and important activities, as well as needs, are happening in communities across the nation. So we have a lot that we are going to share in a brief time here with you. But if you could bear with us 1 second, and I'm going to start our agenda with our usual disclaimer, but go right into our first opening comments from our Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary and Recovery Champion, Tom Coderre. Tom, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Paulo, and welcome everyone to the Recovery Exchange meeting convened by SAMHSA's Office of Recovery. As the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary at SAMHSA and a person in long-term recovery myself, I want to start by thanking everyone here for all of the work that you do every day to advance recovery. You know, in just a few days, we will celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month. We recognize the tremendous importance of this work. We appreciate the lived and professional experience that each of you bring and the impact it has on individuals, families, and communities across the country on their recovery journey. These recovery exchange meetings continue to be important, not just for all of you, our recovery stakeholders, to be informed about our work, but also for SAMHSA as well, because we need to keep hearing from you so that we can continue to carry out the mission of SAMHSA and this important work that's happening in the Office of Recovery. Our Assistant Secretary, Dr. Miriam Delphin-Rittman, is disappointed that she can't be here today. She is on her way to a big convening in Chicago of our 988 grantees, but she did ask me to send her regards. SAMHSA's strategic plan for 2023 to 2026 highlights the agency's top priorities and guiding principles. And it was important to Dr. Delphin-Rittman and to myself that recovery be one of these priorities. SAMHSA received extensive feedback from all of our partners calling for action to improve well-being by increasing the importance of behavioral health integration and focusing on trauma-informed, recovery-oriented, and person-centered care. SAMHSA acknowledges that recovery is real. It's possible for everyone, for people like me, people like many of you on a call today, and it can be the expectation for all those who experience behavioral health conditions. Since our last convening, the Office of Recovery has launched some really exciting work. So please, thank you to all of our staff in the Office of Recovery and to all of our partners who have joined in various technical expert panels, summits, and other convenings. Last month, SAMHSA announced notice of funding opportunities for grant programs addressing behavioral health across the country. The grant opportunities total almost $40 million, which will help address a wide range of supports, including integrating primary behavioral health care and facilitating substance use prevention and recovery. The grant funding opportunities being announced included our Building Communities of Recovery program, our Recovery Community Services program, and our State Consumer and Family Network grants programs. One of the most exciting efforts that we're undertaking and that we're going to share with all of you today is our work on creating the first ever federal scale to measure recovery. We really are excited about this work. As many of you know, we started out with a question on prevalence of recovery in our NSDA. We've expanded that now to kind of cross-tabulate that prevalence data with other data in our NSDA. And now we're looking to really enhance how we're measuring recovery. And we're really looking forward to your feedback on today's call. We're thankful for the enormous support that the Office of Recovery continues to receive from so many as we work to advance recovery across America. It's our hope that the Office of Recovery, with your support, can help many more people find their path and live full, happy, independent lives in communities with their family and friends. We expect no less. Again, thanks for all you do in your local communities, in your states, and across the nation to bring hope and healing to so many. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Paulo.
Thank you so much, Tom. I realized that, I failed to introduce myself. I am Paulo Del Vecchio. I'm the director of SAMHSA's Office of Recovery, also a person in long-term recovery from mental health addictions and trauma. And speaking of introductions, I'm really excited at this time to introduce two new Office of Recovery team members. And, the work of the Office of Recovery continues to grow. And so we're excited to continue to expand our talent within the Office of Recovery. So first, let me join me in welcoming Julie Erickson to the Office of Recovery. And Julie has spent 12 years of experience leading and motivating cross-functional teams to develop mental health education products, from trainings to videos and fact sheets. As a project director previously at Psych Hub, she launched 25 courses annually on mental health and substance use topics for clinicians, workplaces, and the general public. She was also previously at NAMI, where she initially oversaw the National Family Support Group and in our own voice programs, and then moved on to an operations role as director of training, delivery, and operations to migrate peer leader trainings from completely in-person to a hybrid virtual format. Most recently, she's done operations and outreach contracting for an elder care consulting company and association for clinicians to stay informed on the latest research on psychedelic medicines, to effectively answer patient questions and make appropriate referrals. Julie received her bachelor and master's degree from Virginia Tech with special focus on governance, nonprofit management, and Spanish. She also served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Paraguay from 2008 to 2011. As you can see, she brings a wealth of skills and knowledge and experience to the team. So welcome to Julie. Second member I'd like to introduce is Carol Cecil. And Carol joins the Office of Recovery, having a Master's of Arts in Education from Eastern Kentucky University. She taught in a variety of settings for 12 years. After she and her husband adopted a sibling group of 2 from Kentucky's Special Needs Adoption Program, she began a new career in helping other families advocate for their children with behavioral health challenges. Carol spent the next over 24 years as the executive director for Kentucky Partnership for Families and Children, Incorporated, which is a statewide family organization. In this role, she partnered with Kentucky's system of care agencies, family and youth leaders, and other advocacy organizations to move forward the agenda of family and youth-driven services. During the pandemic, thanks to Kentucky's Department of Behavioral Health, Developmental, and Intellectual Disabilities, the Systems of Care grant from SAMHSA, in fact, supported her organization in creating 6 peer support centers that offer family and youth peer services across the state. And I'll add Carol's leadership in both mental health and addictions in terms of the family organization. Last month, she did begin her work with us, which allows her to use her personal experience as a mom and her professional experience at the family organization to continue to be a change agent for children with behavioral health challenges and their families. So welcome very much to Carol and Julie to the Office of Recovery. Great to have you here with us. Next on our agenda is an update on a new program that we have in the Office of Recovery. And we love our acronyms in government. And so here's one called SPARK that you should know. SPARK stands for SAMHSA Program to Advance Recovery Knowledge. And our lead for this effort will be Captain Wanda Finch. Wanda, over to you.
Thank you, Paulo. Good afternoon or good morning to everyone, wherever you're joining us from. And as you heard, the SPARK is here. The SPARK has arrived. This is SAMHSA's National Recovery TA Center. designed to advance recovery-oriented systems of care with a unique focus on increasing equity and recovery opportunities in underserved and under-resourced communities. The Spark is accepting training and technical assistance requests via email. And I'm also going to put in the chat how to sign up for our newsletter so you can maintain and be aware of upcoming events. The Spark is led by C4 Innovations with 6 partners, which include the Advocates for Human Potential, Alliance for Rights and Recovery, also known as NIASPRIS in the past. They just changed their name in 2023. The Center for Applied Research Solutions, Faces and Voices of Recovery, the National Association of State Mental Health Program Directors, and the National Council for Mental Well-Being. The main activities that we're addressing through the Spark include strengthening infrastructure and capacity development, advancing behavioral health equity, bolstering organizational and leadership development, and of course, as I already mentioned, training and technical assistance resources. A couple of major priorities include the inclusion of people with lived and living experience to formulate solutions to ensure recovery supports are equitably accessible to everyone, delivering authentic, peer recovery supports, addressing social determinants of recovery, and last but certainly not least is our focus on the expansion of recovery-oriented systems of care and recovery-oriented practices. One particular area I do want to highlight today is that we're also updating the SAMHSA Recovery-Oriented Systems of Care Resource Guide, which was produced in 2010. And what we're looking to do here is broaden the focus to include mental health as well as addictions. And this will also include looking at a focus of recovery-oriented services at the individual as well as systemic level, planning to also have a charting the life course approach that we often see used for the intellectual developmental disability community, and also incorporating voices that we typically often tend to overlook sometimes. The other piece is incorporating harm reduction and other recent innovations, including the application of trauma-informed care and the critical importance of Olmsted and honoring citizenship and the participation of everyone in the community and really focusing on communal reciprocity. We also plan to increase and include looking at pathways to promote behavioral health parity. We anticipate releasing this toward the end of September. Next slide, please. Spark has a couple of meetings that will be coming up. I'm just going to highlight the intent of our national meeting, which is actually happening next week. We're going to be convening to address unique challenges faced by the states, tribes, territories, and other jurisdictions. We just recently concluded a regional meeting in Seattle, which really looked at leadership, and we have one more coming up in Kansas City, an opportunity to really look at recovery leadership and drive meaningful change and foster resilience. And we have 4 expert panels that are also coming up. Is someone asking a question? We also have 4 expert panels that will be coming up, one focused on trauma-informed care practices and really looking at how we can explore and promote examples of how systems can be transformed by having a focus on trauma-informed frameworks and measures. Rights and protections, really focusing on civil rights as an essential component of developing and engaging effective systems of services. The peer respite meeting will convene providers to explore opportunities to bring this growing model more scalable across the country. And last but certainly not least is the culturally responsive recovery practices. We're going to look at providing a framework for understanding and adopting culturally responsive practices and elevating that for emerging practices across the country. Next slide. we're all very excited about Recovery Month this year, which is going to really be a marvelous celebration of the contributions of people in recovery, family members, youth, and allies. We will be hosting the first SAMHSA Trailblazers in Advancing Recovery. This will take place on September 24th in the Humphrey Building located in Washington, D.C. Again, please sign up for the Spark newsletter to learn more about this event and how you can participate. We plan to live stream the event so that the nation can join us as we celebrate Recovery Month. I want to thank you for listening to the updates, and I will pass this back to you, Paulo.
Thank you so much, Wanda, for all that you do. This is just a small sample of much of our work. I will say that the Star Awards nominations, as I understand it, will be released within the next month, I believe, month and a half. So keep an eye out for that. You know, for my own wellness and recovery, I like to do many pathways, but certainly the use of the arts and creative pursuits is one of them. So I like to sculpt, I like to paint, and I like to play the guitar. I just really find it healing. So speaking of the arts, on our next update here, I'm going to ask Kristen Harper to share exciting new effort, The Art of Recovery. Kristen.
Hi, Paulo. Thank you so much, everybody. Kristen Harper, Woman in Long-Term Recovery, and I'm very excited to tell you about the Art of Recovery initiative that is going to be launching May 7th. We will be accepting visual artworks through the end of June. So be on the lookout for an email that will go out next week. We are very excited to accept youth works and adults, photographers. Some of you might be charcoal folks, like I've got my sketchbook here. Anything to do with visual arts and the recovery process and the importance that creative expression has played through your recovery process. We would love to be able to share that with our website. In September, we'll be publishing the Gallery of Hope, and that will be all of the accepted pieces along with a selection of 15 sub pieces from that particular cohort, which will be displayed at the Star Awards in person in the Gallery of Hope in person exhibition, September 24th. So keep an eye out for that email, and we look forward to seeing your submissions. Thank you. Back to you, Paulo.
Thank you very much, Kristen. So speaking of looking at ways that we can change negative attitudes, of course, Recovery Month is one of our main areas of focus. And I'll ask Deputy Director Michael Askew to give us an update on our planning well underway for 2024 National Recovery Month. Michael?
Hey, thank you, Paulo, and everyone for attending this website webinar. I'm Michael Askew. I'm the Deputy Director of the Office of Recovery, a person long-term experience in recovery, and excited as well with celebrating National Recovery Month here at SAMHSA in its 35th year of recognizing the value and celebration of people in recovery from mental health and substance use conditions. I am really happy to share with you that on August 26th, we will have our National Recovery Month kickoff. We invite you all to come and hear about the really exciting events and activities that we will present for the month of September. We will actually be releasing our Recovery Month Toolkit and webpage release as well, which will inform you of all the activities that SAMHSA will be doing for the month of September. We also will recognize the Recovery Month webinar series that we will have in regards to educating and informing you of certain topics of discussion as it relates to health, home, purpose, and community. Each week we will provide that through SAMHSA's Office of Recovery and internal partners, as well as some state and local community partners as well. And then on September 24th, we will have our big event, Walk for Recovery. And it will be a walk that will be welcomed from around the country. from individuals to participate. And certainly on September 5th, from 2 to 5 o'clock, we will have a walk from Freedom Plaza down 14th Street past the White House into the Washington Monument area. And we will celebrate. We will have a rally. We will have speakers, entertainment. Certainly there's a QR code. If you like to sign up right now, you can. And also we certainly would love to have you come and support the nation's focus on having recovery in the national capital. So once again, feel free to support us as you continue to get e-blasts and information about some of the things that we're doing and spread it out to your communities across the country as well. And we look forward to seeing you on September 5th. Back to you, Paulo.
Hey, thank you so much, Michael. Next is to share some of the recent resources that the Office of Recovery has released. Lupe, over to you.
Thank you, Paulo. Hi, everybody. My name is Lupe Ramos, and I just wanted to share some new resources that the Office of Recovery has been working on. So last summer, the office conducted a few meetings. From those meetings, we did meeting summaries, and those meeting summaries have now been posted on our recovery webpage. You can find those meeting summaries under the Policy and Practice Improvement Series, so please check them out. The next exciting resource release is the website for the Recovery Resource for American, Indian, and Alaska Natives. So last August, the Office of Recovery, along with the Office of Tribal Policy, OTAB, convened a Tribal Recovery Summit that took place in Dallas, Texas. Since then, the Office of Recovery, along with OTAB, the Office of Tribal Policy, we've been working on creating this new recovery research page for the tribal communities. So this this new website includes just a brief summary of the Tribal Recovery Summit, as well as some video clips of some of the presentations that were given at the Tribal Recovery Summit. So on the next slide, I would like to show a short 1-minute video clip of one of the presentations that was given.
After about
Just want to make sure we can hear it. Thumbs up.
30 to 60 days, we'll sit, our mentors will sit with someone and help them to a drum. So they can start to begin that story. My favorite thing about being there is when someone first comes in, you see that boxing, it's kind of, they don't know. I think it's too complicated. And you can see the eyes. You can hear the voice. I remember going hard. That's the power.
Hi, the sound is really bad. We can't hear it.
Okay, so I'm going to put it in the chat, the link to the video. So feel free to listen to check out the videos. There's also many more videos that we have too on our website.
Lupe,
And then I'm going to take it back to you, Paulo.
great, thank you, Lupe. And yeah, I really encourage, I'm sorry about the sound here because those are some really powerful videos from our Tribal Recovery Summit participants. So yeah, we encourage everyone to check out those tribal recovery resources. First time ever that SAMHSA has also had such a particularly centralized resource for folks to help improve recovery on tribal nations across the country. So as Tom mentioned in his opening here, one of the things we are very excited about is data. And as we know, data and measurement can really help to promote both effective individual as well as systems level change. So as part of SAMHSA's efforts to improve its data collection processes, particularly through our grant making activities, we've been involved in a redesign of, in fact, those grant making data efforts. And as part of that effort, that includes, in fact, a focus on how we can measure recovery through our grant programs, as well as the potential usability of such a measure for other settings as well. So in the development of this particular measure that we're sharing here with you today as a sneak peek, let me just describe really quickly how we first of all developed this measure. We consulted with expert recovery researchers on the design and scope of this effort, particularly lived experience perspectives as a key measure. We convened multiple review and feedback sessions internally with many of our stakeholders. And we pretty much focused this definition, this measure of recovery, frankly, associated with the definition of recovery that SAMHSA in the field has focused on. So that includes the measures of health, home, purpose, and community, as well as looking at key indicators such as hope, empowerment, and resilience. Next slide, please. So as noted, this particular measure is focused on how SAMHSA defines recovery as a process of change. Individuals improve three things. First, their health, wellness. Second is to live more independently, a self-directed life. And the third thing to try to improve is to reach their full potential. So this measure aims to do that through measuring health, home, purpose, and community. And as I noted, also the key principles of hope, empowerment, and resilience. We also developed this particular scale using previously validated items. So this already has strong methodological properties in terms of this particular scale that can help us quickly move this into the field for data collection. We are, as you'll note here, also including a quality of life measure, one item question that's been extensively validated and tested, and we're going to continue to refine that. Next slide. Again, one of our key activities here in terms of our data collection is make it manageable. Make it so it's not a burden on our grantees, and we want this particular scale to do likewise. So this particular scale was crafted all items, first of all, at a 3rd to 5th grade reading level, requiring minimal instructions. It uses consistent scaling throughout and avoids trauma and stigmatizing languages. We've estimated the time of completion for this scale at only 3.5 minutes, so 13 items. So we believe this is, again, in terms of usability, that's really important as we craft this. So it is utility focused, applicable to anyone receiving behavioral health services. Ultimately, again, the hope is that this will be helpful to the agency, programs, grantees, and other stakeholders. We believe this is innovative and groundbreaking. This is the first federal, if this gets created, the first federal recovery measure of its like. Brings promise of catalyzing the field to focus on recovery, providing key data, leading to other innovations and advances, I'll say, with the push towards pay for performance and performance-based care and financing models. Having a measure of recovery is really important for us to continue to move the field forward in recovery-focused ways. So this really is innovative and groundbreaking potential. On the next slide is, in fact, the draft set of measures. And as you can see, the first 3 focus on the health domain, physical as well as behavioral health. 4th question regarding home or housing. The 5th question is around purpose, steady job, or involved in things like school, training, or volunteer. 6th one is also around purpose and meaning. Our expert consultants really felt that having economic resources was a critical factor for recovery. So we included a question here that addresses issues of poverty and economic means, question 7. Questions 8 and 9 deal with the domain of community. So we've covered here health, hope, purpose, and community. Question 8 is about hope. Future appears bright to me. 11, empowerment, control of my life. 12, resilience. I bounce back quickly after hard times. And finally, kind of squeezed in there, but that's our overall recovery scale as well in terms of rating quality of life. So on the next slide is just our next steps with this recovery measure. We're going to be convening a series of listening and stakeholder sessions throughout the summer here. We're going to be doing cognitive testing of this particular scale. And through that procedure, we ask potential respondents to get information about things like, are the questions understandable? Is there comprehension? Is there burden? Looking at optimization of the scales, particularly as we look at the scaling and the measurement. Looking at the temporal period of assessment, do we do, for instance, a measure of real time, or do we ask things like over the past 30 days? So this temporal period of assessments. And then also looking to modify this tool as currently crafted. It's primarily adult focused, but looking at ways it could be modified for children and families. Our time frame here is to then modify based on the feedback of the testing. Then looking at sending this for O&B submission as part of that Office of Management Budget activity. There's a federal register period where people will be able to comment on this, with our goal being in about a year's time to begin implementing this new grant reporting and recovery measure. So that's a very quick overview of this very exciting development for recovery measure. We look forward to your feedback on that, as well as on anything else that we may have covered in the meeting today. We have just about a half an hour for folks' feedback. You can either ask questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand and then I will do my best to acknowledge your question. And I see to kick us off here is Jonathan Edwards. Jonathan, please, over to you.
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Paulo and Tom and the Office of Recovery staff. So this is really exciting about the recovery scale, the first federal recovery scale, and just wondering what the connection might be between the two-day summit last year on recovery research agenda and the development of the scale.
That's a great question, and I should have made note of that because, in fact, that was one of the top recommendations that came out of our recovery research technical expert panel, was in fact to develop a measure recovery. So really this was at the impetus of the recovery community at large, and particularly recovery researchers, Jonathan, that you were in fact part of. The meeting summary for that technical expert panel is one of those that we just recently released. So I encourage everyone to go on the link and you can check out the full report with all the recommendations there as well. Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
I see Skip here. Helen Skipper. Skip. Skip, you need to come off mute. Maybe we'll come back to her.
Oh, I'm here.
oh.
I'm here.
Oh,
Paolo, you know I wouldn't miss this for the world.
I am sure of that.
Anyhow, hello, everybody. My name is Skip. I am the executive director of the New York City Justice Peer Initiative. Now, I know you mentioned the report that came out of the Lived and Lived experiences within the criminal justice sector, of which I played a part in. But I want to know what's next. What are you guys doing for those who are justice impacted? Roughly 80% of us are justice impacted. We come with a whole lot of baggage, a whole lot of navigation and negotiation barriers. What is next for us?
Well, that's a great, thank you for that question as well. And thank you for participating in that justice involved discussion period. Did I see David Awadallah here with us?
Yeah, you did. You did,
Oh,
Paulo.
Okay, can I ask you, David, to respond to Skip here, please?
Hey Skip, it's always nice to see you. So yeah, it's a great question. So I can speak broadly across SAMHSA. Right now there are efforts within our partners, including CMHS and CSAT, to expand resources for people who are justice involved, including through the GAIN Center. So that's a technical assistance center and training center that provides resources to the communities that are doing this work. And there's also more efforts to connect with the community as well. I was just at the reentry conference down in Tennessee, where I had the chance to meet with some of the community members there. And we're also looking currently into the role that peers are playing in those environments as well. And we all know that peer support, no matter where it's embedded, it saves lives, it expands recovery, it reduces recidivism. It's a tongue twister right there. And the data shows that. And so making sure that forensic peers or justice involved peers are across the justice system in partnership with our federal partners is certainly a priority as well. So I'm going to pause there and see if Paulo has anything to add more broadly as far as at the macro lens with SAMHSA's goals.
Yeah, thank you, David. One of the real exciting things is that's recently, particularly in the area around those justice involved, was HUD's release recently of proposed new changes. And Tom, can I impose upon you to speak a word or two on that?
So sorry, Paolo, I had to get myself off mute. Certainly, yeah, no, those are exciting changes. I can put a link to the changes in the chat for folks, but essentially, HUD has proposed, and for those of you familiar with the federal rulemaking process, in order to change federal regulations, agencies have to propose a rule. They then get comments on a rule, and then they finalize the rule. So we're in the proposal stage right now of the rule, but some really exciting stuff that they're proposing to really remove kind of the discriminatory barriers that are preventing people from either accessing public housing or that are being used to throw people out of public housing, like drug convictions, like using on the premises, and those other kinds of things that aren't impacting the health and safety of other people in those housing, in that public housing. So really exciting, as Paolo mentioned, and please get your comments in support of the rule if you support it, or if you think it's not going far enough in some area or it goes too far in another area, please let them know that as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Next on my queue is Alethea Lambert. Alethea?
Hi, everyone. Alethea Lambert, Virginia, Office of Recovery Services. And so I am really excited about the upcoming data tool. And so I'd like to ask a question to kind of stretch it out just a little bit further. So in Virginia, one of the things that we are working to do is to develop a tool to measure the efficacy and the impact of our lived experience workforce across the system. And so I had a conversation, I was having a conversation, and I think I'm just asking for SAMHSA to kind of weigh in on that, and that there may be discussions around utilizing the 8 dimensions of wellness. And so I'd like to hear more about that if you have some information to share.
Or we can put in the chat, Alethea, the links to the 8 dimensions of wellness work, but in short, that's a whole person aspect, and that focuses on various aspects to an individual. So that's very much in keeping with the goal. Certainly the peer workforce and recovery is about whole person health. So happy to work more with you as you develop that particular measure.
Is there a study being that you maybe can talk about around utilizing that tool and maybe develop it as a best practice to measure recovery?
We don't have one particularly related to that tool, but as I shared in my comments, we have this other measure that's in development now on our
Okay.
recovery definition.
Thank you.
Sure. Next up is Raquel Fetzer.
Hi, good afternoon. So my name is Raquel Fetzer McNichols. I am calling in from DBHIDS with the City of Philadelphia, and I just wanted to ask if those stakeholder meetings have started with input from folks with lived experience.
So every one of our meetings is focused and includes people with lived experience as prime movers and shakers in our meetings. We just released a number of reports from those meetings. If you go to the chat, you'll find the link to those.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Jack Hakiak.
Good morning. Let me unveil myself here in a second. Virtual reality wallflower. Calling from, I'm from Salem, Oregon, and my first comment, excellent from my perspective and my experience, excellent work on the development of this tool. It really looks good. I like the fact that it's very closely linked to the set of recovery principles. And so we'll do double service for both addictions and mental health. The question that I had is about the Spark project. You mentioned certain areas that they will be looking to develop, perhaps like standards or some kind of organizational framework that may serve as a national kind of standard. I was wondering if they are planning to do this starting from scratch, or if they are going to be soliciting the collaboration of entities that already are moving ahead quite well on some of these. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jack. I think you're referring to, well, not, standards or regulations, but we are updating, as was discussed earlier, recovery-oriented systems of care, which was developed over a decade ago as a model array of prevention, treatment, and services to support people in long-term recovery from addictions. And our Assistant Secretary has indicated a priority this year for us to update, in fact, that array, that model array of services and supports. This will include broadening it from addictions to include mental health, as Wanda indicated. We're also going to update it. So, you asked the question, are we starting from ground zero? No, we're building on what was developed earlier. And then we're also engaging with stakeholders from around the country to update it. So to include things like harm reduction, for instance, practices, to include other innovations that have arisen over the last decade. Wanda would indicate a particular focus as well on trauma and equity as key aspects of the development of the next generation ROSC, which we are also really excited about, because this could really help, again, to advance behavioral health by identifying the model services and supports an individual, family, and community may need and want in terms of their recovery journeys. So,
thank you.
Sure. All right, Tamara Oman.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for the work you're all doing to kick some butt out here and make some changes and offer people what they really need. I just wanted to chime in with my friend Skip, who had talked about, and I know I put it in the chat, but I just wanted to bring back, Paolo, you were there a few years ago. I came and spoke one of the peer things we had for families and then peers working across the country. And around that time, we had the chance to get connected with the Gain Center and PRA to actually come from around the country, forensic peer specialists that got a chance to come together and share best practices from around the country. I'm from Wisconsin, and it was so powerful, and then it died. So administration changes took off, right? Politically, things changed. And I'm wondering if there's a possibility to come back to that, because a national and I'm not a fan of the term forensic. It just reminds me of all the criminal activity, but from my own perspective, but the, the ability for peers who have lived experience with justice involvement, really creating something powerful, because it really moved Wisconsin. We've got, 250 certified peer specialists inside the institution. I was the first peer to be hired. We're really moving finally with all of your guys' help and inspiration. But I'm wondering if there's going to be a possibility to circle back to that. One of the things we are doing in Wisconsin is working with the UW Madison, Wisconsin, to really research with the doctors, the good folks who know we're the experts in this arena, to see how it's reducing recidivism. So our real small snapshot is like, right now we have just a year's worth of information, because there's not a lot of study that we've reduced recidivism by 30% already with that little bit. So I'm wondering if we are going to circle back to that ever again. And it was just so powerful. It was an amazing time, and there were great things coming, and then funding got cut. So just wondering. And thank you everybody for what you do every day. You're helping the world be exactly what we all deserve.
Thank you, Tamara, for that. There has been some discussions about that particular piece of work from the Gain Center, I know, in the past. And David, do you want to add anything more to this discussion?
Sure, yeah, and I think you're referencing maybe the national training and certification for justice peers. Is that correct? Yeah, so there's actually current discussions that are exploring potential, I want to emphasize that word, strategies for getting it adopted. And it is going to take some national partnerships. But I know that our colleagues at the Gain Center are currently looking for partners to talk about that with. So if you're interested in potentially chatting with them, I can certainly link you up and help set up a conversation, if that would be helpful. And of course, Skip as well. So.
All right, thank you, David. Jessica Boykin.
Good morning, afternoon to everyone. I'm excited for this information, especially the first federal recovery tool. I represent, I'm grant manager for Project Aware. And so I'm excited to be in this arena because a part of that does relate to substance use, right? And so my question is really around how can we incorporate what's going on with the tool and this work along with Hub in our arena as far as school-based to get this information to our parents because we do have that close direct interaction with parents that service our community. And so how can we also be a partner in this work? I hear housing development, they have some things going on, and we service one of those types of communities. So I'm actually looking to reach out to our local authority organization, but from the lens of Project Aware, because this is one of our goals, related to one of our goals. How can I incorporate this tool in that work and then leverage it?
Thank you, Jessica. We have a number of school-based efforts that we are involved in. Those include helping support the expansion of recovery schools throughout the nation, as well as expanding collegiate recovery programs. And specifically, and that's, again, both vehicles to get out information. We have another effort underway right now that we're partnering with our 988 office and others to work with historically Black colleges and universities as a means of getting information out, as well to students and parents. Carol Cecil is with us, and Carol, again, comes to us with extensive family background. So I'm going to invite her also if she wants to add any comments here. Carol?
Just thinking when you shared the tool and talked about how, we need to make sure that it's available for families and for children to be able to use. So I look forward to maybe having a group that can help do some of that modification for it, Paolo.
That's great, because that is our goal, is to look to modify that. I hope that answers it, Jessica. Great. Joseph Kennedy.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for the moment to speak. And so my goal is to create a nonprofit organization that utilizes the existing housing resources around the world to give people an opportunity to temporarily relocate. And in so doing, we give them an opportunity to volunteer at local museums, parks, art galleries, and potentially World Heritage sites around the world. Just one thing I've been working on my website is creating an addiction recovery game that's for free, that allows people the opportunity to keep track of all of these locations and other things that they visit. It's still very early on in the workings, but that's about all I wanted to say. I'm having a little bit of a nervousness speaking in front of so many people, but thank you.
That's quite all right, Joseph. I look forward to seeing your game.
I'll include thank you. I'll include a link in the chat to a PowerPoint over the nonprofit I'm starting, and as well as a link to my website.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, one thing we haven't really touched on a lot here is employment, and that's obviously a key aspect of recovery. We do have a employment summit meeting, Donna, coming up this summer, and maybe I could ask you just to talk on that really quickly.
Sure. I'll just take a minute here to talk about our plan to have a wellness in the workplace summit, which is going to focus on employment opportunities for people in recovery, as well as invite employers that have an interest in becoming a recovery ready workplace. But when we talk about that in the Office of Recovery, we really want to be inclusive of both mental health and substance use. So not just focused on the substance use piece, but understanding that, people in recovery do need support within the workplace. And we also want to be able to show the value of hiring people in recovery. So that is at this, we're scheduled for August 5th and 6th in Rockville, Maryland. Thanks, Paulo.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Melissa Algier.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. My name is Melissa. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky with People Advocating Recovery. I just saw a question in the chat that I would like to voice here. Can you say more about how this new tool and the GIPRA will be integrated and how that will work together?
So this actually is one scale in the whole redesign GIPRA grant reporting. And so overall, our goal for SAMHSA is to just focus on, evidence-based and what could be most helpful. Again, reducing burden. I think our goal is a half an hour for the total time for a new redesigned GIPRA, which recovery would be part. All right, Tim Saubers. Tim.
Hi, my name is Tim Saubers. I use he, him, his pronoun. I'm the executive director of the National Association of Peer Supporters. I was curious about the national model standards for peer certification. I know obviously they came out last year and they cover mental health, substance use, and families. I was curious just from seeing all the conversation in the chat if there was potential to revisit them or build off of them to include justice involved folks, or I saw folks talking about like agricultural certifications or other more specific ones. I was also curious about next steps in terms of encouraging state implementation of the model standards and potentially any resources towards encouraging states to engage in reciprocity on their certification processes.
Thank you, Tim, for all those questions. As the national mental standards indicate, there are particularly areas of specialization that we feel do need further attention. Those include folks who are justice involved. David, help me here with some of the other areas: youth, family.
Veterans. I mean, the whole, pretty much any identity or lived experience that's specific to someone's story and their challenges related to mental health or substance use can have valuable implications from peer support. So, there are current efforts at the Peer Center of Excellence, where there's some outreach with our regional directors, as well as hopefully in the near future, state certification entities as well, to discuss how the peer COE can support the adoption or alignment with the model standards. So that's those discussions are currently underway. We are hearing from states, and I think sometimes there's radio silence and you're just not sure, but we're hearing chatter that the states are talking about finding ways to come into alignment with them, which is very encouraging. And the feedback that we have received from states has been encouraging as well. In terms of your other point about the specialized pathways and the specialized certifications, I wholeheartedly agree. And I hope to see more certification programs, more alignment with the standards. I hope to see the states really figure out innovative ways to grow their certifications. But if you want to connect offline, you have my email. So we can chat more about that. We're always happy, especially now that you've taken over this awesome role at NAPS, to chat more about how we can work together to make that happen.
Great, thank you, David. I see we're just up to our hour here in time. So I first want to thank again our Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary. I want to thank all the team members, outstanding team members, I'll add, of the Office of Recovery. Shout out particularly to Guadalupe Ramos, who does all the legwork for these meetings in particular and much more. And a final shout out to everybody who joined us today. Thank you for your leadership in terms of helping to advance recovery across the nation. We will be following up with future recovery exchanges. Keep an eye out for ongoing work and activities from your Office of Recovery, and have a great rest of your day.